Hello, welcome to Mornings at the Allotment. Today I'm going to be sharing with you what I'm sowing in the month of January. Now I realize there are loads of videos out there about what to sow in each month of the year. So I'm not going to be listing everything, but I'm going to talk about what I'm sowing and why I'm sowing it. And as a basis, this is going to be a series of videos. As a basis, I'm taking a calendar I received as a gift from my daughter. This is a calendar that has seeds for each month of the year that you can sow, with little pictures of the plants that you can grow. And my daughter gave me this for Christmas, and it's a German calendar, a well-known German YouTube channel, a Garten-Gemüse-Kiosk. They bring this out every year with organic seeds, and so each month I'm going to be sowing the one seed that they have in their calendar, and then anything else that I want to grow. And it's still available. I realize the year has started, but it's still available, so to my German-speaking friends and followers, you might want to check that out. They also have a great calendar, and no, I'm not being paid for this. They also have a great calendar on what they sow every month of the year. That just has a list of everything they sow and how they sow it, at what temperatures they sow it. So that's also available, and I'll put a link to their shop and to their channel below in the description of my video. All right, so we'll start with that one. So in January, what they grow is a pointed cabbage, and in the back I have the little seed packet. It's called Chateau Renard, and I will be starting it probably towards the end of the month, and it'll be for growing in the greenhouse. So I'm only going to be sowing a couple of seeds from this one, and yeah, then I can sow it up until February, and for growing outdoors. So I'll be doing that as well, but for now, I'm going to sow 3 or 4 seeds to grow them on in the greenhouse. Okay. Since we started with the Brassicas, let me just show you what other Brassicas I'm sowing. Always just a couple of seeds, also for growing in the greenhouse. So I'm going to be starting the first kohlrabi and some pak choy. And this is more cabbage, early cabbage. Early cauliflower, which works really well. I forgot to start mine in the summer. I like to start mine in the summer, put them in the greenhouse, let them overwinter, then they're ready to harvest very early. You can see those in some of my videos from last year. But it's just fine the way it is. They'll be ready to harvest in time for me to then plant cucumbers in the greenhouse in their stead. So everything, all the brassicas that are going in the greenhouse, will then make way in May or the beginning of June for, well, yeah, mainly cucumbers. Okay, then I have some Savoy cabbage here, also just 2 or 3 of them. I'm not sure. I also have a small cold frame. I might put those in there. And something that I'm trying, because our weather, I live in a very mild climate. It's about frost hardiness zone 8B. So we never really get colder temperatures than -7 or -8 degrees Celsius. So yeah, it doesn't get very cold here, except last winter we had -13 at one point. And our last frost date is anywhere between mid-April and mid-May, mid-April to 7th of May, normally. So yeah, I can experiment a lot. And this is chimarirapa, or what is it called? Broccoli rab, I think. I'm going to be growing a couple of these, and I'll just put them outside because we can have warm March and April, and in that case they're going to grow fine. So I'm just going to try it because I have tons of seed, and yeah, I figured it couldn't hurt to grow a couple of them. So the brassicas basically don't have to be started this month, but I'm starting them anyway. But something that should be started this early in the year is aubergines. These are for growing in the greenhouse. I'm also going to be sowing some later on in February or March for growing outside, simply because I don't want to risk having leggy plants, but they do take long, and last year I grew them later. I sowed them later and that didn't work out, so I'm going to sow them early this year because they have a long growing season. Along with the tomatillos and the regular ground cherries, I'm also going to be starting those off now in a heated propagator, or rather on top of the radiator, which is only set to about 20 degrees, but it gets a bit warmer up there. And chili peppers, what are they called? Capsicum chinense, I think. Like the habaneros, they have a very, very long growing season, so I'm definitely going to be sowing those along with 2 seeds each of lila luzzi and Thai chili and cayenne, simply because I want to start them early just in case we have a warm and early summer, warm spring and early summer. But I'm not going to be planting all my seeds now, just a couple of them. Okay. Another classic to sow, actually, I think it's a classic Boxing Day sowing in the United Kingdom, is anything onions. So I'm going to be sowing a couple of Ailsa Craig and some shallots, or seed shallots. They're not true shallots. There's shallots that are grown from seed. Some early leeks, so summer leeks, and a couple of spring onions here. Also, succession sowing. I'm not going to sow them all at once. Most of these will be fine to sow in February. Let me see, what else do I have here? Yes. I'm going to be growing a couple of beetroot, also for the greenhouse, as well as some coriander to grow on the windowsill. And then, of course, I'm going to be sowing some salad greens. I have some lamb's lettuce here that's way over the sell-by date, but I have it, so I'm just going to put it in the ground and see. It should grow. It'll just grow slowly. I'll just try it. And if it gets too cold, it won't grow at all, or not enough sun, then it won't grow at all, but it doesn't matter because it can't hurt to use it up. Also some more mixed salad leaves that I'm also just going to put to start here in the little greenhouse we have on the balcony, and then plant under cover. And of course, radishes. You'll always find some radishes that work at basically any time of the year if you live in a cold climate. If you live in a mild climate like ours. And I'm also going to start the first of the parsley, but that's also going to be successional sowing because you never know what the weather's going to be like and when you can actually plant it. Something I forgot to sow, unfortunately, is my broad beans. So I'm going to sow them now. I'm going to sow them early for spring sowing. Normally I sow them in the fall and let them then stay outside in the winter uncovered, or where the tomatoes are going to go. I like to put them under cover where the tomatoes go, but that won't work this year because I'm just starting them too late. Yeah, so if you're watching carefully, you'll have seen that what I said about the broad beans wasn't quite true. I did remember to sow them, I just forgot to plant them because the tomatoes were in for so long. Now these are very leggy, or they look very leggy, but if you look closely, you can see that each plant is producing a second, more stocky stem. So I think I'm going to take these to the plot and put them in. Any ideas about that? Would you put them under cover or just put them outside? They have been outside all this time, just not in the ground. And they're a bit more protected here. But I'm thinking I can't put them where I would usually put them because the tomatoes will go in May and these won't be ready. But I'll definitely be putting them in the ground somewhere. And I'm also going to put a couple of mange choux in the greenhouse as well. They're going to go where the chili peppers are going to go. afterwards. So once these are harvested, I'm going to put the chili peppers in there. And this is also a sowing that I'm doing because I have the seed, and it would be a pity to just throw it out. I'm going to try, and if it doesn't work, it's not a big issue. We usually sow our mange tout in March. And for the first time, I'm actually sowing a flower for purely ornamental reasons. It's toxic, so can't eat it. Sweet peas. These are my first sweet peas. I don't like to grow things that I can't eat, so I tend to grow flowers that are edible. But in this case, I decided this year I'm going to start sowing something ornamental just for the fun of it as well. So these are my first sweet peas, and I am going to start some of these off now. Normally these are direct sown, but I'm going to start some off. I need to check what temperatures they need, but I think I'm going to start them in the unheated little greenhouse I have here on the balcony. Yeah, they'll just germinate whenever it's warm enough for them to germinate, as they would if they were self-seeded outside. Yeah, so let me see. Anything else to say? Okay, just one general guideline. Talk to other gardeners in your area what a good time is to sow everything. Don't let Instagram or even YouTube get you sowing too early. I know I have people watching who are in warmer climates, but I also know I have people watching who are in much colder climates with much colder winters and later last frost dates. So check up on your last frost date, check up on your frost hardiness zone, and then adapt your sowings to that. Most of these, I have the aubergines and the chili peppers that have a long growing season. I have to start them now, but everything else could go in the ground either in the fall or much later than this, so next month or in March even. But I'm sowing some of them now because I know that our springs can be erratic. So if we get a warm April, I can put plants out much sooner. I've even had tomatoes outside mid-April without a problem. But I always sow just a couple of those seeds for an early planting, and then most of the crop I sow in, for example, the tomatoes in March. So not now. Yeah, but this isn't called what you should sow in January. It's what I'm sowing in January. So I just thought I'd share everything. There may be, yes, I'm going to be starting to chit my seed potatoes, and I also have some more flowers, more ornamentals. I have a couple of spring bulbs that I forgot to put in, and we're having a warm spell, so the ground is a bit wet but not frozen, and those are going to go in this month as well. Okay. So I hope you enjoyed seeing this. I know I'm going to get lots of comments about don't start this early, but I think I've explained why I'm doing it, and I'll also, of course, be very transparent about what happens to all these seedlings, and you'll see me either throwing them on the compost heap or planting them eventually. All right, I hope you enjoyed seeing what I'm sowing. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. If you have any questions about any of the varieties I'm growing, although I am in Germany, so you may not be able to get all of those in other countries, especially outside the EU. Let me know if there's anything else I should be growing. As I said, frost hardiness zone 8B, last frost date end of April, beginning of May. I know I had some root chervil somewhere, and I was going to plant that in December and then couldn't find it. If that pops up again, I'm going to be planting that as well. Just one row. Yeah. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you'll be back next time. And I think next time I see you, it's going to be for a plot tour or something else on the plot if the weather allows. I'm not going to go there in the pouring rain, but the plan is to do a bit of actual gardening December was very much about planning, as is January, but I do feel the need to get back to the plot. So I hope to see you again then. Bye for now.